I don't know how much of me is inside his character. You know, I mean, I'd love to tell you that I was as sensitive as it was, but that would not be entirely true. But I mean, Lakshya was about it was about a certain time in our lives, you know, where emotions were really high, you know, where everybody felt they were kind of under threat, and the army really stood up. I'm so fortunate to have been able to make a film, you know, about that period and about the army. I feel I would have a very myopic view of life. You know, when I'm thinking about what I want to write next, what am I going to think about? Reflects at times in my work, like it reflected in Dil Chahta, you know, in the character that I played. Those things will reflect because I mean that is who I am. Those are the values that I believe in. Those are the issues that I stand for. So that will reflect in the choice of work that I do, and it will reflect in the choice of work that I say no to.
I was speaking to Akshay Khanna yesterday, and we spoke for almost like half an hour, and we spoke about Dil Chahta at length as well. Because you know, when you meet him, you know, you get to just see that smile of him just sitting, just standing in the hospital, and you know, just having that conversation, and you just can't take it away. Because I think he's such a fascinating actor, and
and an amazing guy,
an amazing guy as well. And you know, what I told him was that when you're painting and when you're just getting into that artistic mode is something that it seemed that you're actually there, you're actually painting yourself. How much of Farhan Akhtar was there in Akshay Khanna's character?
You know, I don't really know. It's difficult to say. You know, I mean, because I mean, at the end of the day, the fact that those characters came down onto paper is something that you've experienced or something that you've witnessed, seen in a friend. That also can happen. So I don't know how much of me is inside his character. You know, I mean, I'd love to tell you that I was as sensitive as it was, but that would not be entirely true. I think the closest at that time in my life that I was to like how Saif was, you know, when that film happened. But these were people that I knew, you know, like a sensitive person, like he plays in the film. There were people in my life like that. You know, very fortunate to have had them, and very fortunate to have still call them my friends. So I mean, it is inspired from my life, but not necessarily per se from my personality.
Okay. Now, Lakshya, we got a great response for, I think, the way someone said today as well that he was inspired by it. You said that you went to IMA and 75% of the cadets who were there, they said that they were inspired from that film. How do you look back at Lakshya now, and what is your definition of patriotism today?
I don't know if one has it has anything to do with the definition of patriotism. You know, I think that's a separate conversation entirely. I mean, we all are exceedingly patriotic people. We love our country, you know, and we want what's best for it, you know, and for its people constantly. You know, that's a given. But I mean, Lakshya was about it was about a certain time in our lives, you know, where emotions were really high, you know, where everybody felt they were kind of under threat, and the army really stood up, you know, and made us feel safe, most importantly, you know, and made us feel also proud as a people, you know, that, you know, you can't just be messed with, you know. So it was a great time, and I'm so fortunate to have been able to make a film, you know, about that period and about the army. And for me it was such a learning, because I really, in my family, there's nobody who is from an army background. So I got to learn so much about the way that world is, and how the people are, and the kind of passion that drives them to be able to do what it is that they do. It was great learning.
Okay, one last question. You said, I think, a very pertinent point today, that whether you want to be director, actor, writer, it's very important to have experiences other than your film world.
Oh, absolutely.
To really grow per se. Could you please elaborate on that if possible?
Well, I mean, I just feel that if all I ever did was just watch other people's work, you know, and didn't go out and travel or experience life in any other kind of way, where I meet people who are not film people, you know, where I travel to places where people don't recognize me, you know, I feel I would have a very myopic view of life. You know, when I'm thinking about what I want to write next, what am I going to think about? I'm going to think about the films that I've seen, I'm going to think about the soundtracks that I've heard, I'm going to think about a character from that, you know, that character in that film was really well written, so let me take him, you know, and make something with him. So what are your reference points? What is inspiring you to do anything more, you know, for that? And how do you create something that has not been seen before? How do you tell stories about people, about places, about issues that are outside the films that you've been watching, or that are outside that things that plague the film industry constantly? You know, for that you have to disconnect. And I feel you speak to any person who takes his or her creativity seriously. I probably think I'll be right in saying that you'll arrive at the same place where it's very, very important to disconnect, you know, from what it is that you love doing, of course, but you need to disconnect with so that you can kind of recharge your batteries, you know, and rejuvenate your spirit, you know, on some level, and not have to think about work and not have to think about what's going on in a film. And those experiences are tremendously helpful. Then when you come back and you sit down and you write.
Is mirth one of the experiences that this motivates
well,
you and gives
I don't know. I mean,
perspective?
it reflects at times in my work, like it reflected in Dil Chahta, you know, in the character that I played. Those things will reflect because, I mean, that is who I am. Those are the values that I believe in. Those are the issues that I stand for. So that will reflect in the choice of work that I do, and it will reflect in the choice of work that I say no to, you know, for sure. But that everybody doesn't need to know about. You know, that's my own personal thing. I would much rather, when I actually do stuff with mirth, put it out like these films that we've just done. I'm just really glad that people are understanding that these are important issues. They are issues that really, really affect everyone, and that we are here talking about it openly and hopefully sharing each other's concerns.
Talking about the no part, you also, I think, made a very pertinent point that how you learn from Aamir that why it's important to say no.
Yeah.
When you have to, could you please talk about that if possible?
You know, well, I mean, I would just imagine, I mean, that if you hear something that you really, really like, I mean, your instinct, you know, because would be like, man, it's amazing, I should do it, you know. But I mean, if somehow you can have that self-analysis of saying that, you know, I mean, it's really great, but I don't know if I'm the right guy, you know, for it, and the film would be better served if it was someone else, unless of course then the director turns around and says, "Matlab, ho hi nahi sakta, you are the guy, I'll make sure you know what I mean."
Absolutely.
If the director has that belief, it's a separate issue. But it just to understand that how can I maybe serve the story better, and I mean, at the end of the day, we are friends. He can turn around and say that to me because he may have my best interest at heart. You know, but I did learn that from him, and I think it's a very commendable thing to be able to do that.
Fantastic. Always a learning experience, meeting Farhan Akhtar. Thank you, man. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. That's all we have from Bollywood Hungama. Keep on watching.